Good morning and welcome to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, everybody. I'm really pleased to see you in different seats. I made an announcement last week that I hope that this week you would all sit in a seat that you'd never been in before. And I see a lot of people have moved around. So thanks for remembering, and yay, good for you. And welcome to those of you online. Why don't you choose a different chair this morning to look at your computer from, or wherever you're watching us. We are the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, and I'm Reverend Mary Murray Shelton, the community spiritual leader here. I'm delighted to see you all on this lovely Memorial Day weekend. I can see that some people are already off appreciating Memorial Day, but we're going to celebrate it together right here. And so we're honoring and remembering those who have served, who have died in the service of the country or in a related situation in the military. And our lovely altar this morning is by Joe Hughes in honor of Remembrance Day. So we're going to begin by having you all say good morning to each other, which you've been doing a little bit, but look around and see if there's someone you haven't said good morning to or that you don't know or remember, and go introduce yourself and welcome them. Take a few minutes to do that. And you at home, go get yourself another cup of coffee. Take a moment to recenter and prepare for this lovely day. And thank you for taking this time to be with us this morning. All right, so this morning we have Daniel Nahmod for our special music, and gosh, there's hardly anything I need to say about Daniel Nahmod that you already haven't heard from me or from him, but he has sold over 110,000 CDs of his music, and it's been performed on Saturday Night Live, The Voice, American Idol, the Super Bowl, and the Today Show. So his music has gotten around, and we're very fortunate to have Daniel providing these wonderful morning videos for us. So this morning, we're going to sing a song that I think we've sung at least once with him before. So stand right now, and we're going to do Witness.
Hey, Golden Gate. Happy May. Late May. Happy May. Happy spring. Is it still spring? Let's sing a song. I'm not confused. We've done this together before a few times. Still feels true. Here we go. This day is a witness to my sacred purpose, to all that I'm meant to be. This day is a witness to my sacred purpose, to all that I'm meant to be. Letting it in, ready? Letting it in, letting it flow, letting it go where it will go, letting the power of your presence show the way, letting it in, letting you know, I'm letting you lead, that I might follow, being a witness to your presence every day. This soul is a witness soul is a witness to my holy purpose, to all that I'm born to be. Letting it in, letting it flow, letting it go where it will go, letting the power of your presence show the way, letting it in, letting you know, I'm letting you lead, that I might follow, being a witness to your presence every day. This life is a witness to my rightful purpose, to all that I've come to be. This life is a witness to my rightful purpose, to all that I've come to be. And I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love for all my life. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love for all my life. Sing it again. Here we go. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love for all my life. One more time. Oh, I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love. I will bear witness to your love for all my life. For all my life. Nice job. Thank you. Happy Sunday morning.
All right, now is the time for us to turn within and allow ourselves to become centered. I'm going to invite you to turn your cell phones to silent and prepare to go within together now. I'm inviting up our morning prayer practitioner, Rick Walt, to lead us in the opening.
Good morning. So I invite each and every one of you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, become centered in this perfect moment of infinite privilege. The privilege of being aware of our surroundings. The very privilege of being alive. Right here, right now, in this beautiful moment, in this beautiful day. And we gather here today as community, whether here or online. We gather together to celebrate the fact that there is a creative law and that we know how to use it for each and every one of our highest good. It is truly a blessing. So knowing that and becoming centered of my awareness of that God, that Spirit, the Creator, and knowing that we have the power to use the law, I am just so grateful for that. I am grateful for the fact that we are able to come together today and honor that power. So I release this prayer now into that very same creative law, knowing indeed that the seeds of consciousness have been planted. I am just so grateful. And with love, I invite all of us to say, and so it is.
I have made a decision about my life. It may be a strange surprise to some. I have always thought I wanted what so many want, but it's to a different conclusion that I've come. I see water rushing through an ancient riverbed. I see snowfall floating high up on a hill. I see an eagle soaring to the red horizon. And I know that's how I am meant to live. Oh, I need to be free. I will go where the wind will carry me. To be free, oh, to be free. You won't see me playing any kind of lottery. You won't catch me wishing on a shooting star. You will find me wherever I am called to be, wherever kindness and beauty are. For I think of all mankind as my family. This entire precious planet is my home. So let others build their borders, walls, and boundaries. I will fly above them all, even if I must fly alone. Oh, I need to be free. I will go where the wind will carry me. To be free, oh, to be free. When I hear a child singing, when I see a dolphin swimming, when I watch a dancer moving like the wind, it's a calling, it's a vision, it's a voice, and I must listen. So today, this very day, I'm stepping in. Oh, I need to be free. I will go where the wind will carry me. To be free, oh, to be free. I will go where the wind will carry me. To be free, oh, to be free.
There was something either playful or thought-provoking or heart-touching about his music. I always enjoy that. And we are in the very last Sunday of the month of May, where we're talking about freeing our hidden splendor, letting that light that is the essence of what and who we are to be expressed and felt and known by us and out in the world. So a writer decided that he was going to write a book about various outstanding churches all around the country. And he began by flying to New York City, planning to work his way west from there. He stopped into one of the very large churches on his list, and he began taking photographs and making notes. And then he noticed a golden telephone on a vestibule table. And he was intrigued by the sign next to it that read, "Calls from this phone are $10,000 per minute." So he sought out the pastor and he asked about the phone and the sign. And the pastor told him that the golden phone was a direct line to God, and that anyone willing to pay the cost for that connection could talk directly to God. And the writer was pretty impressed. So he made a few more notes. He thanked the pastor. He continued on his way, and he visited churches in Milwaukee, in Chicago, Denver, Salt Lake City, and Seattle. And on his journey, he found many more phones, just like that first one, all with them, and every one of them with the same sign and the same explanation by the pastor there. And then finally, he arrived in Northern California, and when he entered the large church there, he saw the same usual golden telephone on the table in the vestibule, but the sign by this telephone read, "Calls from this phone are free." And so now he was really fascinated and intrigued. So he went searching for that pastor, and Reverend, he said, "I've been in cities all over the country, and in many churches I found a similar golden telephone and been told that it's a direct line to heaven and I could use it to talk to God. But in all 20 other churches where I found this kind of phone, the cost was $10,000 per minute. Your sign says calls are free. Why is that?" And the minister smiled and said, "You're in Marin County now. It's a local call." The time that we spend talking to God can be very precious to us, or it can be very casual, like the moment that's right in front of us right now. And I'm asking the question this morning, why can't we remember the future? Why is it that time seems to only go in one direction, where what happens will not make just as much sense in reverse as it does moving forward? I'm ringing a little bit, Dana. So I've been asking myself this question because it just seems to me like if there's no limit in the presence of the divine, and we're all made from the divine, that there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to kind of remember the future even though we haven't been there yet. Or so it seemed to me. Like, I like that idea of playing with things like that and asking myself those questions. Well, it's interesting to discover in researching this a little bit that maybe we actually do remember the future. Now, here's why I say that. This comes from the website for the National Institutes of Health, National Library of Medicine, and it's an article by some of the scientists in biotech called "Thinking About the Past and the Future in Daily Life, an Experience Sampling Study of Individual Differences in Mental Time Travel." And here's what it says. Numerous studies using functional magnetic resonance imaging, that's MRIs. How many of you have had an MRI? So you know they're noisy. And so using MRIs, numerous studies have shown remarkably similar patterns of brain activation when people recall an event from their past and when they imagine an event in their future. In other words, the brain is doing the same thing, or very nearly the same thing. The activity is the same. I remember when I first got into looking at New Thought and alternative ways of thinking about spirituality, that one of the things that was pointed out to me was that the feeling of fear in the body and the feeling of excitement in the body actually are identical. It's only our mental process that images it as something else depending on the situation. So it appears that our thinking about the past and the future are the same kind of mental process, whether we're remembering or imagining the future. Now, this fascinates me. So, one of the things about both the past and the future is that for us, they are present moment experiences. Now, follow me here. Albert Einstein said, "People like us who believe in physics know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." That's interesting, because in quantum physics, most things at that tiny little level work the same way, frontwards or backwards. They're reversible. It doesn't matter what order they happen in time. They bring about what they bring about. So, what is time then, if it's imaginary, if it's not real? You know, this is a sequence of events we experience, right? We experience the sequence, but we're always in the now moment. Now, one of the quotes that I found so fascinating with this comes from St. Augustine. In his book, Confessions, he said, "Perhaps it might rightly be said that there are 3 times: the time present of things past, the time present of things present, and a time present of things future. The time present of things past is memory. The time present of things present is direct experience. The time present of things future is expectation." And in a website that talks about St. Augustine and his theory, it says the past definitely doesn't exist anymore, and the future hasn't yet occurred. Instead, the past and the future only really exist within our minds. The past is something remembered in our minds, while the future is anticipated in our imagination. So these 2 temporal states only really exist within our consciousness. Because in the external physical world, events which have already occurred no longer exist, while future events have not yet come into being. This fascinates me. Now, one of the things about time that physicists have hypothesized, I guess we could say, based on Einstein's theory of relativity, it says that people in different locations may experience time, the passage of time, the same where they are, but relative to each other, measuring time together, as they looked at each other, they're not in the same time. What is hypothesized is that the more dense, the more gravity is in space, the slower time travels relative to those of us on Earth. So some astronaut that goes light speed, which we can't do at this point, but if they could travel at light speed and they were 20 light years from us, time might pass for them so that it seems like a day or a few days or a week, whereas back on Earth, it might be 20 years. The same experience of time in each location, and yet relative to a less gravitational location, time is going much slower there. They don't know it, but in comparison to us, we would recognize it. Like we'd be 20 years older and they'd be the same age when they came back. Are you with me here so far? Okay, now the other interesting thing about gravity is that in places where gravity is super strong, like really enormous black holes, gravity bends space. It actually creates curves in space, and light will curve in those gravitational areas. Now, can you imagine anything that actually bends light other than a prism? Gravity bends light. I think that's kind of amazing. I mean, the only way that I know gravity exists is that I don't float away. So I assume there is something that's allowing me to stay grounded, if you will, and we call that gravity, but I've never seen it. I can't prove it in any way that I know that it exists, but if I drop this clicker, it's going to fall to the ground, and we call that gravity, right? So if the gravity were really, really, there we go, and see, we can't do that in reverse and unbreak that glass now. It's not possible. If we could work in both directions, we could maybe do a Harry Potter type of thing, wave a wand, and have that one thing reverse itself in time and bring itself back into one piece. But that's not something we're able to do in the macro world. You with me still? It's a broken glass. Yes, it's broken. Now you can stop being distracted by it. So it is variable time depending on where we are in space, depending on how dense the gravity is where we are. This tends to offer us the possibility that in space-time there are variations, right, throughout this universe that we're familiar with. And so that opens us up to the possibility and the remembrance that our own perception of the divine is that it is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. So omnipresent means present everywhere, right? But we think of present everywhere as right now, like we are. We're present right here. The infinite is present right here. But the infinite was always present and always will be present. It's omnipresent, which means through all space and time, but beyond all space and time, not limited at all by any space or time. Now, we also say and teach that everything in form is a manifestation of that one presence, that we're, all of us, appearing as a variety of individualizations, but we're all part of that one presence, which is not limited by time or space. So physically, we experience being limited to the sequence of time and space. And yet, if we were not in form, would that still be true? So creative law, then, being part of the divine, part of the omnipresence of God, creative law, which acts upon the internal beliefs and processes and thoughts and feelings of human beings, and through the consciousness of the infinite, is always a part of God, always a part of that infinite presence, part of us, and it isn't limited by time or space. So we may experience in our bodies a limitation of time and space. I can't be in the kitchen and here at the same time. I can't be here at age 5 and at my current age at the same time. But creative law was there then in both places, will be there in the future when I'm 112 or however old I become. It is the same. It continues. It is changeless. And we have access to that creative law. That is one reason why this matters. Because, as Ernest Holmes says, in mind, there is no time, no space, no place. There is only wholeness, oneness, and eternity. In other words, when we're thinking, our thought is not limited to time and place. You can remember when you were 5 or 10 years old, yes? You can remember something from being in grade school. You can remember something from roller skating or learning to ride a bike or learning how to drive. You remember some of those things, yes? Yes. And those of you at home, yes? Okay, good. So we know that those things exist in our consciousness, but we can go to them now and remember some of them very distinctly. Somebody's facial expression or tone of voice, or we might be able to hear our own mother or father in our head, or somebody else that we know, even though they're not present with us, we can bring that into our thought, yes? You can think about your garden at home, or your pets, or your plants, or your neighborhood, even though you're not there. Your thought is not limited to time or space. So this means that when we enter into prayer, we're entering into a realm that isn't limited by conditions or experiences or appearances. When we enter into focused prayer, we're liberated from all of those things. And we can bring into our consciousness an experience, an image, a thought, a feeling, a sound, a visual of what we want to welcome into our lives. We can make that as detailed as we want. You could imagine a beautiful room with a gorgeous Persian rug. And you could imagine all the details of that rug. What are the colors? What are the patterns? You could create that in your consciousness. You could think about it. How many of you have any regrets in your life? I was thinking of, I can't remember what it was now, but I was thinking of something just this morning that occurred to me, and I thought, yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. Now I don't remember what it was, but I was repentant in that moment for whatever it was that came to my mind. So Eben Alexander wrote a book called Proof of Heaven, and in it, he was talking about his near-death experience. Now, Eben Alexander is a neurosurgeon. He is very aware of how nerves work, how the brain works. He's done surgeries, he's looked at brain scans, he knows how all that works. He was struck with a type of meningitis that usually only is caught by infants. But he had been traveling in a place where this was one of the things that was prevalent. And when he came home, he was struck with this blinding headache, and then very shortly after that went into a deep coma. And he was taken to his own hospital where they did brain scans and tests and all sorts of things. And this coma persisted, I think, for a couple of weeks. And in this coma, they took brain scans, they did blood work, they did everything, and they documented all of it for Dr. Eben Alexander. I believe they were just about to detach him from all the life support when he opened his eyes. But while he was in this state, he had had the most incredible experience. And he says, time in this place was very different from the simple linear time we experience on Earth. And it is as hopelessly difficult to describe as every other aspect of it. But he also says, a little later in the book, to get a little, if only a very little, idea of what this feels like, ponder how time lays itself out in dreams. In a dream, before and after become tricky designations. You can be in one part of the dream and know what's coming, even if you haven't experienced it yet. My time out beyond was something like that. Though I should also underline that what happened to me had none of the murky confusion of our earthbound dreams. So, he, like many scientists, although he had been raised Catholic, although he attended on holidays and things, he had a scientist's perception of there really not being something after death and things being real if they could be proved. So when he regained consciousness and began to be actually functional again, he had all these memories of this experience, and he was very curious to see what was on the brain scans from that period. Because remember, up until then, he had believed that the dying brain creates these experiences. And in his brain scans, there was no activity. In other words, as a neurosurgeon who knew what he was looking at, he could see quite clearly there was no way that brain could create what he'd experienced. It was offline. So it became his mission to not only do his work, but also to assist other physicians to get this awareness of what's happening to people and what the other side of life is like. And if you've never read Proof of Heaven, it's a pretty interesting read. Eben, E-B-E-N, Alexander is his name. So if creative law isn't limited by space-time, and if there is something beyond our life that is a state that is extremely clear and beautiful and unitary and one, and the time in it does not move in a linear way, then there is already some part of us, because remember, he didn't die, there's already some part of us that's capable of being beyond time and space. It's said that when Phineas Parkhurst Quimby did mental work, mental science he called it, which was essentially treatment for people at a distance, and this was in the 1800s, people who had written to him for prayer help, because remember at that time medicine was very sketchy. And so sometimes the treatment was a lot worse than the disease somebody was experiencing. So when Quimby said he would work for someone, he would tell them, I'm going to go into my private study to do this work for you on such and such a day at such and such a time. And what I want you to do at that time, in your time, wherever you are, is to just sit quietly and be receptive. And he would, even if he had guests, leave that room and go into his own space and close the door and envision being with that person whom he hadn't met and didn't have a picture of, but he would envision being with them and doing this work of knowing this truth and speaking this truth to them and talking them out of their false belief around the illness, whatever it was. And the person would experience the benefits of it. But not only that, sometimes they actually saw him in their room. Now, how could that be? I don't know. But he was not limited, some part of him was not limited by time or distance or space, and was able to bring a presence that fully into the consciousness of the other person. This, in some degree, is what our licensed practitioners do. And this, in some degree, is what any one of us can do when we use spiritual mind treatment. We have to know that we are not limited by the conditions or the appearances that are in front of us, whether they're ours or someone else's, that we have the ability to move beyond that in consciousness. We can think of them as whole, complete, and perfect. We can think of them receiving the answer that they need as a solution to their situation. We can see difficulties resolving themselves. We can see inflammation receding into healthy tissue and color. Now, Ernest Holmes does say that sometimes the physical container is so damaged that it can't really recuperate that completely. And whether that's a part of just our belief system or, whether there is a point of no return, I don't know. It does seem to be like there's a point of no return, at least at some point. And that I think of as kind of good news because I'm really curious about the rest of it. I don't really want to stay here forever. I don't know about you, and you can think anything you want, of course. So the creative law isn't limited by space-time, which means that we could pray for someone who has had a very difficult life. We could pray for them as a child to somehow help relieve some of what has been carried forward into their adulthood by surrounding that child with a sense of peace and love and security, regardless of what their conditions were. Now, their physical form may be limited in time and space to their age and their current conditions or appearances at the moment, but if Eben Alexander could travel in this way when his body was barely alive and his brain certainly wasn't working, then there is a part of that person that is not bound by time or space, where that prayer for that individual as a child can still be effective. That's my belief. I know it sounds really woo-woo, but our thought is not limited to time or space. So our thought can be changed, our belief can be changed, and with the support of a practitioner, we might change even more. And perhaps our own difficult childhoods, if we had them, can also be softened, and the effects of them can be more resolved through the use of spiritual mind treatment or prayer. This is one reason why every single Sunday without fail, I talk about the practitioner table and the prayer box, or making a prayer request via the website online and allowing practitioners to do that work for you. Because even for us, for practitioners and ministers, there are times when we can't treat for ourselves. It's sort of like surgeons, it's not recommended that they do surgery on themselves or their own families, although occasionally some have. And I don't need to give details, but anyway, in not insane situations, some of them have needed to do that. So if we can move beyond our pull toward the condition, then we can do a treatment. If we can't move beyond it, we go to a practitioner who isn't limited by that belief or that condition because they're not experiencing it. They can see the truth for us quite easily, even though we can't. They can see that wholeness. And that's what we would like them to do. We want them to be able to see that goodness, that wholeness, that perfection in us that helps to free us into it. Does this make sense? So we have the power then to influence the past and the future as we rely on this creative law. Now remember, the creative law, you might say like gravity, it has its own laws for how it works. So it will operate according to our deeply held beliefs and thoughts, that which we repeat, that which we dwell in emotionally. And it will act on those and bring those into greater focus and into greater frequency in our lives. If we were to use the creative law in prayer to change somebody else without their involvement or permission, if we were to try that to influence their life, that might have some impact on them, but what it definitely would do is bounce back on us, because what we put out is ripples that return to us. So that's why Ernest Holmes said we can't afford to have negative thoughts about anybody, because they come back around. And we don't really want that result in our lives, so we don't need to want it for someone else either. You follow me? So here's a little story I want to share in conclusion today. This is from Alan Cohen. Years ago, he says, I played in a band with a fellow named Ernie, who was a regular kind of guy. I lost contact with Ernie for a number of years, and then one night he showed up at a friend's house. And when I asked Ernie what he'd been doing lately, he offered this astounding account. He said, a few years ago, I went to see a friend in South America, and one evening a neighbor came to visit. She told me she had a headache, and I asked her if she wanted me to pray for her. I did, and she felt better. That night, she came back with her daughter. Her daughter was suffering from menstrual pain. I offered the girl prayer, and she experienced relief. The next night, the woman was back, and this time followed by all of her relatives. Hoping I could be of service, I prayed for them. The next day, half the town was lined up for healing. After I came home, I received a call from a town representative who told me that the people would pay my airfare if I returned, so I did. And now I go back regularly, and they fly me from town to town in a helicopter. Upon hearing this story, my first thought was, Ernie? Last year a bass player, this year a saint? I had a hard time reconciling these two pictures. But then I realized I had a choice. I could negate the good that he was doing, or I could rejoice in the blessings. It felt a lot better to be excited about his success than to be cynical. What is a saint, Alan goes on to say, but someone who lets the light of his or her own spirit shine purely and creatively? If you're not quite ready to go for sainthood, then perhaps you'd simply settle for greatness or success. Perhaps that book you've been playing with in your mind, that song or that painting or that labor-saving device is not some random thought, but a divinely inspired vision. It is said that anyone can count the number of seeds in an apple, but only God can count the number of apples in a seed. Actually, there are an infinite number of apples in a seed, but how many actually come forth is a result only of cultivation. At this moment, there's an infinite number of ideas and talents within you. Ideas that can change your life, as well as that of millions. Who knows, maybe the whole world. The saint next door may be you. Take that in, take a breath. What if we actually considered the possibility that we are incarnations of God? How would we think of ourselves differently? How would we want to be with one another, to live that, to express that, to experience that? I'm not talking about being judgmental or critical or pompous or anything like that. I'm talking about something else that is as nameless as gravity, but as real as love. So let's take that in as we move our attention into prayer now. Just put your hands on your own heart. The saint next door, maybe you or me. The presence of God, unlimited by the past or the future, unlimited by place or gravity or the speed of light, is fully present 100% all around us. The density of this presence permeates everything. It is a presence of wholeness. Knowing this, I call forth wholeness in the bodies, minds, and spirits of all of us in this room. I call forth an increase in the very vibration of our consciousness, allowing us to open to the greater identity of who we are, to respect, to honor, to live as that presence of pure love and light. The essence of the truth of us is in every cell, every atom, every thought that is real and whole and loving. And so we send into that creative law of mind and spirit today the recognition of the wholeness, the unity that is hidden beneath all the surfaces, all the appearances of discord, of dislike, of disapproval, here and anywhere on the planet, anywhere in anyone or anything. In this moment, we consciously lift them out of their assumptions about their circumstances now or in the past, about their limitations in the future or in the present. Lifted, we are open to the possibility of being and experiencing and expressing this greater, deeper truth of who we are. We call it into being in our felt experience, breathing it in, allowing it to bless us, and being rooted in gratitude. So grateful for this truth, for the knowledge of it, and the practice of it, and the activity of this creative law at every moment in our lives. I release this prayer, this word, into that law. And I release it into the divine presence of God, unlimited, whole, complete, and perfect, into that heart of God where this is always seen and known and established as the truth of all that is and who we are. Together we let this go and let it be. And together we say, and so it is. And I invite you to stand and join me in the morning affirmation. I'm laying the path to my future in this moment. I can already see what my intentional presence and love yield when I live from them. I'm living the life I created for myself in the past. And today, I'm creating the life I want to live tomorrow. It is very good, and so it is. You may be seated. This becomes our time of sacred giving. And in a way, this sacred giving process that we enter into is part of our actively creating the future for Golden Gate, for this Center for Spiritual Living, for the larger movement that we tithe to, and for the world itself. So I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward. Those of you that are online, if you want to text a donation, you certainly can do that, or those here, the number's on the screen behind me. And we bless not only what we're receiving this morning in this room and online, but also all the gifts that you have sent in that have come to us during this past week, and also all of us as the gift to the world, the gift of the divine presence. So we want to bless this in unison together as one voice right now as we say. So I'm going to invite you to put your hands on your heart again, or if you're giving a gift with your partner, your loved one, you can hold your hands together and say this. This gift is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
Bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, I'm through hoping against all hope. I'm through longing for something gone that'll never return. I think I finally learned to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Yeah. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through grieving, I'm through dreaming that the life I had is ever coming back. No more wishing on someone else's star that'll never be mine. I think it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my my next thing to do. Yeah. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. And I've survived many times before. Broken hearts and slamming doors. I'll be alright, yes I will, once more, just as I did back then. I'm gonna rise again, so bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. So bring it on. Everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Yeah. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I know it's gonna be everything new. Thanks.
All right. So now, all of us together, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept this offering with gratitude, and we send it out into the world, everywhere that it goes, to light that spark in people, to set them free from what they think are their limitations, and to soar. And so it is. If you happen to be here with us for the first time this morning, I want to direct your attention to the table back behind this side of the seating where Galen is standing. There are welcome packets and flyers and information back there. Feel free to pick up any of them. And the welcome packet especially has a blue card inside of it. If you fill that out and give it to Galen, she's going to give you a little book called Nourishing Thoughts, which is our thank you gift to you for being here with us today, and also your invitation to come back and be with us hopefully often in the future. So thank you so much for being here. I want to also thank everyone who participated this morning in getting the morning together for us so that we could have a lovely celebration, and especially once again the altar that was done by Joe Hughes to honor Memorial Day. And the poppies are, you know, the memorial from World War I in Flanders Field. And then we have, you know, American flags for those of our service people who have died. I was wondering the other day what the difference was between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and there's another one I can't remember the name of, but those two are the big ones. Memorial Day is for those who died in the service of the country. Veterans Day is for those who served in the past but didn't die. They're still around. How many of you are veterans? We've got a few. Good for you. Yeah, thank you. And then there's Armed Forces Day, which is for those who are already serving currently right now. So each one of those holidays recognizes a segment of those who do whatever seems to be necessary to be done to take care of us in the world. That's a long speech about the altar, but do talk to Jo about it. She can tell you more. And now let's acknowledge everybody who set up and ran things for us today to keep it going. As you know, we've been invited to Songs of the Soul, the Poetry and Sacred Music Festival happening on Saturday, June 8th. It's all day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's $70 if you register now before June 4th. Well, no, I don't know if that's true. I think it's actually, you have to register like now. And $90 if you want lunch. Actually, maybe it's too late. I think you can still register, but you can't cancel. Anyway, go look at the website so you can find out more. And they'll let you know what's still available or what isn't. Also, I'm going to be doing a workshop on June 2nd, which is next Sunday, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Learning Center in San Rafael. And I'll have some little maps on the table back there. I have to look and see how many are back there. Yeah, Galen? Or no, it's not next Sunday, it's the 9th. Sorry. That's wrong. I put it in here wrong. But I think it says the 9th up there. Yeah. It's June 9th, so it's in 2 weeks from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Learning Center. And I will put some maps back there. You can sign up at the back table. You can also just register and pay on the website, on our website. If you go to the events tab, you can look for it under there, the workshop. And also, Lori Greer and Leslie Giannetti are going to be doing the Science of Mind course, Journey of the Soul. It's a 6-week class. It begins June 18th. It's going to be on Tuesday evenings on Zoom. So your location, much like prayer, doesn't matter. You can be wherever you are and participate in this class. And I believe that the early bird price is still available until June 4th. You can indicate your interest by signing up in the back, and Sonia will contact you from the office, or you can register online and actually pay for that right now. And also want to invite our president, Karen Frost, up because she has an announcement for us as well. They can't actually play something on the fly.
Oh, they can't hear my head? Oh, okay, sorry about
They didn't
that.
read your mind, hon. Sorry.
Couldn't read my mind. So I had the honor with Lori Greer to go to a full Bay Area practitioners retreat for the last couple of days. And one of the things that does is it helps to broaden your eyes instead of just being so focused on where you are here and now, but it gives you that bigger time and space view, which really led me to seeing how wonderful we have it in this time and space that we have. Because I don't know how many of you all know, Reverend Mary has been a reverend for a few years now. Matter of fact, for 38 years now.
As of yesterday.
So I wanted to present an orchid to our lovely Reverend Mary for being here and ministering to so many, not just here at Golden Gate. She teaches ministerial classes. She has been a reverend in many other places too. Trust me, the Santa Rosa crew that was there at this retreat was very high and very strong on Reverend Mary and making sure that we're still taking good care of her. And I said, yes, you can't have her back. She's ours now. So thank you, and
Karen.
congratulations on 38 years.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, actually, yesterday, the 25th of May, was the first Sunday I was a minister in Santa Rosa. So that was 38 years ago, and I graduated a year earlier. So I've been a minister 39 years. Next year will be 40. So, and when I first started, nobody had been around 40 years. The old ones had been around 30 plus years, and I thought that was quite amazing. So now I are one. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my, thank you, Karen. That's amazing. All right, and I have one more announcement for you. Some of our favorite musicians, Eddie Watkins Jr., who was here last week, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, and also Michael Gott, who, if you don't know Michael, he's got the most beautiful voice, too. They are going to be part of a cruise, Spirit at Sea, Sail into Your Bliss. And this cruise is going to take place to Alaska. It will be in August of 2025. Although I gather cabins are going fast, but if you choose to make a deposit to save a spot for yourself, and then at some point during this year you decide it's not going to work for you, you have until next May to cancel. So if you think you might be interested in going, probably good to go ahead and access this website, which I believe is in your bulletin this morning, so that you can sign up for it right away. And they would love to have you there. I want you to know. All right. So, would the practitioners please surround the room? I've talked a lot about prayer today. Please remember that Joyce Thompson is going to be available at the practitioner table following our service today. Please take advantage of getting that kind of re-grounding in prayer by going to Joyce and having her do a prayer for you. And if she's busy when you get to the table, just wait, she'll be right back. We are going to now enfold you in prayer. So I'm going to be speaking the prayer and everybody's joining me in consciousness. So what I want you to do is just allow this to flow into you. In this moment, here and now, we recognize once again that there is only one, and that that one is being expressed in this moment everywhere, and in every moment everywhere, including in and as us. So knowing this is true, we carry this energy out into our week with awareness and gratitude and willingness to be that light, to extend love, compassion, patience, kindness to those around us to the very best of our ability, and to allow the great goodness of that energy to wash back onto us as well, to let it in with our whole heart and mind in a deep sense of gratitude at the revealing of truth behind all appearances. We're so grateful to know this truth, and we let it be in joy. And so it is. And please stand and join us for the closing blessing and song. So we speak this closing blessing also in unison. So please join me now as we say, I now walk, so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. And here's Daniel with a song we know well.
All right, one more song to sing together. We've done this a couple times over the last couple of years, but when I think about setting an intention for how I want my life to look tomorrow, how I want my family to work, how I want my workplace to go, how I want my neighborhood to feel, how I want my world to go. Love is my decision. Doesn't get much simpler than that, except for how hard it is. So let's assume that none of us is going to be perfect at being loving. The intention, however, it seems to me, impacts every decision we make, every relationship we're in, every day of our lives, reverberating positively forward. So, love is my decision. Let's sing it together. I hope you enjoy. Thank you again for having me, and I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. Here we go.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now. Thank you again.